ومن أحسن قولا ممن دعا إلى الله وعمل صالحا وقال إنني من المسلمين.
So you had an interesting time with veganism because that's a
Yeah,
big thing. How was your
interesting time.
how was your experience being a vegan?
Yeah, my experience being vegan,
Some totally healthy and happy.
totally happy and healthy, just like the cows. You know, we're all happy together, big family.
Mm.
Yeah, veganism was motivated due to my psychedelic experience, actually. I encountered, if you will, in a vision, the suffering of the world. At least this is how I want to interpret it. I even had Jesus appear to me in that vision.
Interesting.
At least, yet again, this is how I like to interpret it.
Yeah.
Might be true, might not be true. And I just saw that every life that you can save
Mm.
is a net positive for the universe.
Okay.
So I saw. I was like, great. So then, might as well stop eating meat, right? Because Buddhism and Hinduism were promoting those doctrines.
Right.
So yeah, long story short, I did it for 4 years straight.
Wow.
Yeah, I stuck with it. And initially, I tried the whole food plant-based diet. So that means this is the diet that is being promoted by the World Health Organization as the healthiest diet there is, period.
Okay.
But it's being promoted as the healthiest diet. It's perfectly suitable, is the quote, for every stage of life, even for babies. Can feed them a plant-based diet. Mind you, all of those plants are man-made. If you go 1,000 years back, we had not one of those plants around.
Yeah.
Broccoli is manufactured. If you find broccoli in nature, you know how it looks like?
No.
It's a little leaf, a little green, bitter leaf.
Really?
You would never eat it.
One good thing you're telling me is that I eat broccoli. So
Yeah, never eat it. Don't.
did you guys hear that?
Don't eat your broccoli.
Don't eat broccoli. I love this guy. so so broccoli is not from nature.
No, broccoli is not from nature. Carrots are not from nature. Cabbage is not from
You're
nature.
blowing my mind right now.
Bananas are not from nature. Right? All of those fruits, mangoes, etc., are not from nature either.
I like mangoes. That's not the one.
They're beautiful. I know. But anyways, they're not from nature. So if you look at a banana, for example,
Right.
you can Google that too. A wild banana. A wild banana is roughly this size,
Wow.
and this packed with seeds. Because think about it.
Ah,
Every plant in nature
good point.
needs to survive.
Right.
So how do they survive?
It's
Through
a seed.
pollination,
Yeah.
through seeds. So a fruit without a seed, and there's something that you can read in the Bible as well, it said that you should never ingest any fruit without seeds. It's interesting because back then, I don't think they had them without seeds.
Right.
Well, that's good. Anyways, part of the story is that they're almost inedible.
Mm.
If you would eat a banana in nature, they're green, they're small, you peel them, you eat around the seeds, and then you spit out the seeds, and this is how the banana tree grows.
Probably not
With
much
those-
nutrition in there. Then. I mean,
No, it's not. It's not that carby either. So one banana like that has maybe 3 to 5 grams of carbohydrates,
Mm.
and a average Cavendish banana has roughly 30 grams of carbohydrates,
Mm.
right? Because they have been bred. The way that bananas are manufactured is by cloning. It's not like the scientific cloning per se.
Right.
It's more about just cutting off a banana
Mm.
and then pollinating the stem and then implanting this. So like that, a new plant will grow
Okay.
without a seed. It will just replicate. It's like taking off a branch of a tree
Yeah.
and making that into a tree.
Then-
If you do that over generations, they will lose all their seeds. Side note, this is something that has been done in the marijuana industry as well, because they want the sticky icky. They don't want any seeds in their wheat.
Right. Right.
And this is why nowadays wheat has no seeds anymore again. So it has to be cloned.
Yeah.
Anyways, that being said, when you do that, you maximize the effect. With wheat, you have more THC. With bananas and other fruits, you have more carbohydrates.
Mm.
Those are fruits. Fruits are not that dangerous if you do that, other than that you have an excess of carbohydrates.
Okay.
With the green leafy vegetables, on the other hand, those things are poisonous in nature. Because
Wow.
in nature, everything tries to survive and protect itself.
Right.
So if you look at an animal, it has claws, it has
Right.
fangs, teeth. Plants don't have that.
Thorns.
They have thorns,
Yeah.
right? Good point. But other than that, they have something called phytonutrients, which is not a nutrient, it's a chemical.
Okay.
And those are defense chemicals. So before fertilizers, etc., the plants used to defend themselves. If there's an insect, for example, it dies if it eats the plant.
Yeah. Then I won't eat the plant.
However, as humans, we are more resilient.
Mm.
So therefore, we can eat a bunch of them. However, this is what led now in this modern day and age to IBS, for example, because it attacks our gut lining. Those anti-nutrients attack our gut lining and destroys our health overall. because that is a factor as well. People started modifying those plants, as I said. So breed them in a way that they contain more carbohydrates, become more sweet. Yet again, matter of fact is that you don't have those in nature whatsoever. At least 90% of your produce, when you go to a supermarket and you see those colorful aisles, they're man-made.
Wow.
A carrot, for example, you can Google that too. It was just a little root.
Just the root.
You think about it, right? The carrot, what is it? It's the part.
Yeah, it's the root.
It's a root.
Yeah.
And then you have this little green stuff on top.
Hmm.
That is the actual plant. And the carrot is the root. It used to be this thin,
Wow.
bitter as well. And then we started crossbreeding, making them sweeter.
Human.
So anyways, point of the story is, to not give you a dietary lesson here, that all of those plants, or most of those plants, are man-made. And therefore the question becomes, of course, if they're not natural in the first place, and we, evolutionary as well, survived for such a long time without them, why would we then need them for perfect health? Especially if the fittest survived already.
Right.
And then you look back into our original diet, it would have been at least 90% meat-based.
Right. And why do we have canines, right? Because canines wouldn't be needed if we weren't meant to eat meat.
Not at all. Moreover, we don't have hind guts like cows. We don't ferment the plant matter.
No.
We don't have that possibility. Quite the opposite. If we eat a bunch of fiber, we get congested, we get bloated.
Interesting.
So anyways, yeah, this is something that I learned the hard way because, as I said, I was vegan for 4 years straight, believing the propaganda, listening to the science. That's how they call it, you know. Science, yeah. And the experts, of course. And that destroyed my health. So
really,
after 1 year, I still felt okay, very hungry, but okay. And I didn't listen to my body. So this is when I started reading further and trying to adjust my diet. As I said, I started with this whole food plant-based diet. Then I went raw vegan because they told me raw plants. This is the way to go.
No cook.
Nothing.
Wow.
Just salads and fruits. And then later on, I cut out even the salads because just fruits are the way.
Interesting.
Just fruits. That failed completely. Then I did the fasting, failed as well. Then I went back to a whole food plant-based diet. And now 4 years passed. My teeth were rotting out. One reason why I'm wearing this Invisalign here is to straighten them out again due to veganism.
Oh, so they
start becoming crooked.
Really?
Yes. Because if you look into it, a vegan diet has no creatine whatsoever. And I'm going to list the nutrients in a second. There's no creatine whatsoever. Creatine is only found in meat, in red meat. By the way.
That's why I love meat.
Only red meat. And what they found out is actually they gave roughly 5 to 10 grams of creatine to vegans. And they saw a huge rise in IQ and brain capacity.
So veganism can actually make you stupid.
No, it does make you stupid for sure. And this is actually, I believe, the detriment of the diet because you keep on doing it, because you become dumber and then you cannot snap out of it. Yeah? Yeah, it's wild. Anyway, so
this is fun stuff.
It's crazy, yeah. Don't do it. If you listen about it, it's fun stuff.
But that's funny because you don't hear about this.
No, of course not.
All you hear about on the news with, even scientific channels is the benefits of eating plant-based food and not eating meat and how meat's horrible for you and there's nothing good in meat. But this is stuff you don't hear about.
Exactly. I would claim, without being too conspiratorial, that there's an agenda behind it as well. If you want to stay on the surface level, okay, let's say plants are much more profitable. Okay, let's just say it's money. I would say it goes way further than that, but nevertheless, it is much more profitable than raising cows.
Well, I mean, knowing that certain nutrients are essential for the human body and then depriving the people from it, definitely something behind it.
I would say so. There's actually something behind it when you look into Kellogg's. Kellogg's cornflakes, the founder, I forgot his name. You have to Google this as well. However, he was part of a certain Christian sect. And this is a fact, it's not a conspiracy theory. So he was looking for a way to stop young boys from masturbating excessively.
Wow.
So in turn, lowering the testosterone levels.
Interesting.
And he saw that a egg breakfast is actually raising their need to masturbate. I don't know how he observed this.
He's a Christian, right? Catholic or not kidding?
So anyhow, so he came to the conclusion that he has to manufacture a meal for breakfast that will stop them from masturbating because masturbation is a sin.
Wow, so that's how cornflakes actually.
It's no joke. You can look this up. There's no conspiracy theory whatsoever. This is what he created them for. And the same applies to the Weetabix company. I don't know if you're familiar with those.
I've seen them.
Yeah, they're common in Australia. So there's a Adventist, I believe, church as well that invented those.
Really?
With the same motivation behind. And of course, because they're so deprived of nutrition, you see the label fortified. And fortified simply means chemical supplements.
Right.
That's it.
Unnatural again.
Unnatural. So if you look one last thing into the vegan diet, people will tell you that you have to supplement vitamin B12.
Right.
And that is correct.
Yeah.
But it's not only vitamin B12. So you don't have any vitamin D3.
Even iron is hard to find.
You don't have proper heme iron, which is the iron that you find within the blood.
Okay.
You don't have heme iron within plants. You just have a precursor of it. And if your body will convert it, that is up to the individual body. They found, for example, that Scottish women cannot convert it at all.
If you're Scottish, be careful.
Whatsoever. So you don't have any creatine, as I said. You don't have any carnosine either. You don't have any carnitin either, which are all amino acids found within meat. And moreover, we have receptors for them in our gut. This is why you get satiated when you eat a steak. A steak, for example, a 200-gram steak, doesn't have that many calories.
It doesn't.
But you're satiated after it.
That's true.
How come? Right? This is because we have receptors, again, involved with our receptors here, for carnitin.
So once again, humans were meant to eat meat, though.
100%.
Right.
Even by an evolutionary perspective, we
Right.
would have to admit that. Right? Then you don't have K2, you don't have proper vitamin B6 either, you don't have real calcium, you have just again this precursor of it, etc., etc. You can boil it down to at least 15 nutrients, if not more, that we know of that are missing.
So when you go on a vegan diet, one of the things then you're going to lose testosterone then.
100%.
Wow.
Of course you will. And I actually did the blood test myself.
Mm.
First, I was happy because my cholesterol got low.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, at first. But then, later down the line, it went into critical levels below the average standard.
Well,
So
people
too little
forget.
cholesterol.
I mean, you do need cholesterol. There's good cholesterol, obviously.
Of course.
And I mean, in nature, these, how Allah designed insan, you need those things, right?
Absolutely. Cholesterol is the precursor of every single hormone in your body.
Mm.
If you look at the testosterone molecule, you come from a scientific background, you will see that it's based upon two cholesterol molecules.
Right.
It doesn't function without it whatsoever.
Mm.
So you need cholesterol in order to produce healthy hormones within your body. That's just what it is. Yeah, anyway, so I was lacking 50 nutrients. Nobody talks about it. It's quite amazing. Even if you look at baby formula, now they're adding DHA and EPA, which are essential fatty acids.
Right.
5 years ago, you didn't have that.
Yeah.
So now they found out science. Prove it again, right? Another win. So they cannot at all understand what is in there. Right now, we partially know how much protein you have in a steak, how many calories it has, which micronutrients that we know of.
Right.
But maybe there's something else in there that you don't know.
Right.
Of course, you cannot know. It's absolutely impossible. And this is why they found out just last week, actually, that Bill Gates, I don't even know if I can name him here.
Go for it.
Yeah, Bill
We
Gates.
don't mind getting canceled, don't worry about it.
I don't want you to get canceled. Anyways, his factory of plant-based meat and impossible burgers and artificial meat is actually cancer causing.
Wow.
Go figure. They found out now. They did the studies again and they found it out. So there you go. If you go against nature, against your own human body, you will suffer. That's the quintessence of it.
Allah made everything in a balance. I mean, eat meat, eat vegetables, eat whatever is there, but in that balance, and in that true balance, the halal way of life, people flourish.
I would agree.
And every time humans have tried to mess with that balance, we've only caused harm.
Yes.
Most cancer that we talk, I mean, I used to work in a company that basically was working on equipment to detect and then to try to eradicate cancer cells and things. And we had a lot of training on what causes cancer.
Right.
And everything would go down to certain chemicals, certain unnatural processes. And you start thinking, like if we really lived in a way that Allah designed for us, we would be cured of, so many lifestyle choices within the halal life would save us from these things.
Absolutely guaranteed. In my mind, there is no doubt that if we follow the laws of God, and therefore implicit the natural laws as well, then there couldn't be such suffering.
Right.
Absolutely impossible. Especially if we talk about lifestyle diseases or modern day diseases. So you have modern day diseases, and you look at the diet. We stopped eating the way that we ate back in the day. So if we have modern day diseases, it can be only blamed upon modern day lifestyle choices and modern day foods. So we didn't have Cheerios.
Yeah.
We didn't have any, I don't even know how you call them, Pop-Tarts and stuff like that people are eating in the States, right?
Yeah.
You didn't have that. And therefore you didn't have that much cancer.
Right. Talking about lifestyles and changes, because I somehow want to get canceled. I wanted to get your view on a couple of rather controversial things. One about the movement of the LGBTQ XYZ that's
You
been
definitely want to get cancer. We're trying hard here.
we're trying hard here. Let's see how it
Support.
goes. Yeah. And again, as Muslims, we're not promoting any kind of hate or violence and things, but again, talking about changing the way nature kind of, and you know, whether you want to say nature, whether you want to say, and from my own perspective, I would say, you know, how Allah ordained us to be as a man and as a woman, and how procreation works.
Yeah.
But even if you take religious values out of it, if you go to a strict evolutionist idea, then homosexuality would be wrong, because evolution, you would have to then further the human race,
Exactly.
and two men and two women cannot. So, what do you think is the effect now on society with this movement?
Yeah, so I'm really going to try not to get canceled here. But first off, you're absolutely correct. When you talk about nature, the studies that have been done when they talk about gay animals,
Right?
they have been done in closed environments,
Of course.
in zoos, right? In captivity. So in such zoos, in captive scenarios, yes, they've seen abnormal behavior. First, they remove them from the natural diet
Right.
and the natural activity, which for a lion, for example, is hunting
Right.
and eating the whole animal.
Right.
Now they give him like a fillet steak or whatever.
Right.
It's not the same thing, right? The lion needs to eat the whole animal. That's
Right.
what it is. So he's removed from that situation, removed from hunting, removed from his purpose of life.
Right.
So therefore, he will involve himself in unnatural behavior.
Right.
That's just what it is. And therefore, the studies on gay animals, show me gay animals in nature,
Well, exactly.
or at least a significant amount.
And again, the when these studies are done, and I was speaking to some actual researchers on this issue, okay, but those animals are also prone to incest,
Yes.
right? Those animals are also, according to that definition, cannibalistic. They'll eat their own, right?
Yep.
Does that make it correct?
Right.
And in nature, or even in a controlled environment, if the percentage of those quote unquote gay animals was to rise, that species could no longer survive.
What diet?
Humans need, you know, according to some statistics, 2.35, which I don't know how you get a 3.5 there, but children per two people
Right.
to survive. Meaning
Sure.
that for the human structure to keep, if you have two people, you need more than two children for humanity to sustain itself.
Of
Right?
course.
Now, sometimes we have a lot of kids, and then you have population. Sometimes you don't have enough kids and things. But if we were to go on a major scale towards a homosexual lifestyle, that means humanity would collapse. Right?
Yes.
And this is not about social value. This is about scientific, you know, survival of a species. So if we look at animals, even the majority, obviously, that we see in nature is going to be male and female. That's how that species survives. If that ratio starts to flex, then you would have a species end.
Yes.
So, you know, now we look at how men and women and their roles in society are being changed, where we're told things that are really hypocritical. You know, we're being told men and women are the same. Well, we're not the same. I mean, a man has value, a woman has value, and no doubt in Islam, Allah gives everybody their own place. The highest right anybody has on you is your mother. It's a woman, she has the higher rank than anybody else. Allah honors the woman with that. No doubt to that. I mean, as a man and as a father, sometimes that's difficult, but I have to accept it because Allah knows best. Now, a man has his place in society. When we start messing with those roles, then we see the crisis in society that we see. And it's unfortunate, you know, it's unfortunate now because we can't even have this conversation without people wanting to cancel, people wanting to shut down the conversation under the guise of freedom of speech.
Exactly. Yeah, first and foremost, what I want to say is you said that we are not equal and not the same. So yeah, thank God for that. The best part about a woman for me personally is that she's not like me.
That's
great.
true.
I don't want to have another Bobby with me.
Right.
Anyways, but moreover, what you made there is a universalist claim, because what you said is if the whole society would adapt that type of behavior, we wouldn't have a society. Or if the whole animal species would adapt such a way of life, then we wouldn't have that species. And this is something that goes exactly against the common narrative, because everything is subjective, remember?
Right.
And this is very important to remember, because this is how they make the argument. They say it doesn't hurt you.
Right.
So if you want to have children, just have kids, and
Right.
it doesn't matter what they do. That would be still, let's say, agreeable if this would have happened in a closed door environment.
Right.
Right? If they would just not live it out.
Right.
The first gay rights demonstration was in San Francisco, actually. I think it was in the 60s, maybe even the 50s. The first thing that those guys came up with was to parade the streets with a 10 meter, I don't know what that is in inch. 10 meter is like 2 car lengths.
Okay.
Okay. Plastic penis.
Wow.
And they paraded with that in the streets. This was the first gay rights march. So from the get-go, if you look into this movement, it is about sexualization.
Of course.
And my argument is, first and foremost, so not only because I want to stay politically correct here, I don't care. However, I do not want overly sexualized societies and actions within our everyday life anyways.
True.
So when I go out with my child, I don't want ladies in miniskirts, and moreover, I do not want straight couples making out.
Agreed.
I don't want any of that outside.
Yeah.
Sexuality is for the bedroom, so therefore, no matter if you're straight or homo, you don't have to live it out outside. So now we're talking about a human rights issue. Tell me how you're persecuted. Tell me how you're suffering. Don't wave your plastic penis outside and tell me that this is your freedom and that before that you've been suppressed because you couldn't show your genitals.
Right.
So now in Germany, where I'm from, we have parades in Germany, in Berlin, and there are grown men naked. Naked. It's no joke. It's not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
Naked with their dicks out, parading together with children and
Wow.
advocating gay rights yet again. But this is not about gay rights. It is not about people that are somewhat feminine, let's say, being persecuted. No, this is about living out your kink.
Right.
Let's say, I'm not going to go into detail. Let's say you have a certain fetish that you're into.
Yeah.
Whatever it might be.
That's
And you're straight. I'm not going to get out now and promote and tell you, you have to accept that I'm into this.
Right.
Right? Please accept that I love bondage.
Right.
And now I'm going to parade in this leather gear. And please accept me now. Brother, nobody was going after you in the first place.
Right. You do your thing.
Nobody was going after you anyway.
Exactly.
And now it is being pushed further and further and further. And it's a slippery slope. First it was about gay rights, then became about trans rights, and now it's about children trans rights and how they have the right to mutilate their genitals. That's basically what it is.
And now, one thing is, okay, somebody wants to dress up like a woman and he's a man, whatever, that's their business in America or whatever.
In America.
But now, them to bring it into the schools and say, okay, now your child has to go and sit and listen to a guy dressed up as a woman, and your child, now in America, some schools, they have a day where they say, hey, have your child dress up like the opposite gender. Why? Why are you pushing this on me? You know,
First Meatless Mondays and all this.
it's insane, exactly. And that's why we say, okay, look, if they say, okay, it's not hurting you, for example, and like you made a great point, it is, because
Yes.
I'm walking with my son and, you know, my daughter's 6-year-old, 5-year-olds going around and, you know, you're seeing these things. But on top of that, okay, well, what about incest? What if a brother and sister want to, you know, what? Well, they're not hurting anybody else. Is that okay then?
Yeah.
What about bestiality? Somebody has a dog they really like, you know? So when you don't have a moral compass, when you don't have a divine right and wrong, then that slippery slope keeps going.
Everything goes.
Everything goes.
Exactly right. Everything goes. And this is really what it boils down to. Now it is being pushed upon children. There was a dramatic case in Canada where a husband and a father tried to stop his wife from doing the surgery, the genital removal, on his, I believe, 6-year-old son.
Wow.
And she filed for divorce. The guy got a restraining order and ultimately ended up in jail because of, I don't even know how you call it.
Yeah.
Being a bigot?
If my 6-year-old wants to get a tattoo,
yeah,
you can't.
Right.
But if he wants to, that's his right.
Like, that's
insane.
Apparently. Yeah, it's absolutely insane. Yeah, so this is that subject. I would say that we have to go to the root issue here, of course, and especially in societies such as America or Europe as well, in those areas, you do see an ideology that is based upon, as we said, atheism and liberalism And this itself is already the root cause of the demise. Because now when you're talking about LGBT or whatnot, you're talking about a symptom. I'll say it's a symptom of a sick society already. People are talking nowadays about no-fap movements where they want to stay away from pornography, which is good, it's commendable.
Good.
But at the same time, the issue is, of course, that we have this pornography push onto us.
Right.
Right? So where does that come from, etc., etc., etc.? And it all trickles down to the same sick society. Just as the zoo example, where you have those sick animals engaging in unnatural behavior, we have the same thing in our mega cities.
True.
And this is where it goes further down too. Live in the pot, eat the bugs, right? Klaus Schwab, I don't know if you have seen him.
No.
Klaus Schwab is the leader of the World Economic Forum.
Okay.
He's a German.
Gotcha.
And kind of interesting guy. So he says with his German accent, eat the bugs, you will eat the bugs.
Eat the what?
The bugs.
Oh, the bugs.
The bugs, because they're a great protein source, don't you know?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
No, meat is bigoted, it's bad for you, so...
What about the poor bug? You're killing a bug? It's still
You
alive.
actually kill billions of bugs, you kill more life.
This is what I don't like. This is one of the things that cracks me up about some of these, humanitarians, or I don't know, humanists, whatever they want to call themselves.
Transhumanist.
Yeah, they're talking about the poor dolphin that got caught in the tuna web. What about the poor tuna? They're alive too.
Who cares about dolphins, man? Those dolphins are vicious anyways. Yes, they're intelligent, but they only have sex when they don't have children around, offspring.
Really?
So what they do sometimes is they kill their own children to have more sex.
Oh,
So they go after their own pleasure.
that's
So
nasty.
yeah, probably that's what they're into anyways.
That's scary.
Yeah, that's scary. So
And
you
I've
want
seen
to
that dolphins, when they do kill, they also torture.
Yeah.
That's pretty scary. Yeah. But I mean, the point being that if you think a dolphin life is worth more than a tuna life, why? You know?
Exactly.
Why is a bug life okay, but not a cow? You know.
Again, for last time, bring back to veganism. In order to produce crops in general, you need to use fertilizers. When you use fertilizers, you're killing billions of insects, rodents as
Right.
well, and moreover, you're deforesting that area. So all the wildlife, deer,
Right.
groundhogs, hogs in general, and birds even, they're all dying off when you create such a monoculture. So you're killing more animals when you go vegan anyway. It's true.
That's it. We're eating meat because we love animals.
Thank God.
All right. So, last question here. So, you've been through so many experiences. You've definitely done amazing amounts of research into Christianity, into Buddhism, into Hinduism, into shamanism. One thing I love about you is that you don't do anything halfway.
Okay.
When you dedicate, when you're a vegan, you go all the way. When you went to the Amazon, met shamans. I mean, that's another podcast, but you've definitely had an exposure to different world religions. What brought you to Islam, especially coming from a background of hating Islam?
The only answer to this, the truthful one, would be God.
SubhanAllah.
Right, that's it. So Allah guides who He wills. This quote will never leave my mind. Absolutely, and it always moves me when I hear that. And
That is beautiful.
not many things move me in life, but this one moved me because it's truly up to God's guidance to guide whoever He wills. But another passage of the Quran, and I'm paraphrasing here, and it depends on the translation, is that Allah's pattern is never changing. And this is truly what resonated with me, because when I was looking into all of those experiences, I was looking for a red thread. I was looking for something that makes sense and is real. So my search was always to find truth and not to find another belief. Because as I said, we can choose to believe certain things. I want to understand what is true. And therefore, Islam itself was the only religion that had a red thread. So what I mean by that is, if I'm thinking about Adam, right, and I'm thinking about Christianity, so you have Adam. Adam didn't believe in Jesus.
True.
Jesus wasn't around.
Yeah.
According to Christianity, of course, he was always around. Jesus, that is.
But there's no Christianity before Christ. So that was
exactly. And he wasn't there in his human form anyways.
true.
That's a fact. So therefore, Adam didn't have to believe in salvation through Christ on the cross
Right.
in order to have any type of relationship with God.
Right.
And so this is what it boiled down to, the relationship to God. So the question was not the religion, because that was my fear. Remember I said religion is man-made.
Right.
And that was true in most instances.
Right.
Surely, religion can be man-made.
Right.
But then the question is, what is the man-made part and what is the quintessence? What is this red thread yet again? And so looking at the story, the Islamic story of Adam, that he was in submission to God.
Right.
Just like
It's a Muslim.
he submitted to God, and all the prophets after him submitted to God as well, independent of their cultural context.
True.
Yet again, Adam, for example, he didn't even have a cultural context in that
Right.
sense.
No cultures at the time.
Exactly. And about Abraham, I think there was a saying that he was his own ummah or something like that.
Right. كان أمة يعني because Ibrahim alayhi salam was always on the move.
Right. Okay.
And his own people didn't follow him.
Exactly.
Only Lut alayhi salam, which was his nephew, he's or cousin, I mean, he was related to him. He was the one that followed him, but his own people. So he moved.
Right.
He went to Egypt. He went to the Levant. He went different areas. So even by himself, he was like a nation.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's my point. So he, even not being followed by his own people,
Yeah.
just going his own way, so to speak,
Right.
which way does he follow? So he follows again God, and he submits to God.
Right.
And this
He's a
made
Muslim.
perfect sense, because this was the only thing that we can cling onto, basically.
Right.
The only thing that can be real, because if God is eternal,
Mhm.
and God has always been,
Right.
God has no temporary constraint upon him,
Mhm.
then his ways, his pattern, cannot change.
Right.
It's impossible. And therefore, there cannot be generations and generations of people. On top of that, prophets being sent.
Mhm.
And then we reach the time of Jesus.
Mhm.
And ultimately, now the way changes.
The game changes. Yeah.
The game changes. All the rules that have been imposed, they
Right.
change.
No
as well.
more sacrifice, no more forgiveness from actions. Now you just believe in Jesus, and
That's it.
he died for your sins. And
And
but
what was
Moses and Abraham and
what was their position?
all of them, they had to do good deeds. This is the thing I tell many people too. You know, if you look at Christianity, Christ. So
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, birth, his life. Then you have Christianity, Buddhism, Buddha, Judaism from Judah.
Right.
Islam is not from any of them.
That's right.
From day one, from Adam alayhi salam, from Hawa alayhi salam, from Nuh, and every one of them followed the exact same religion. What was religion? Believe in one God, don't worship idol, don't worship anything else, do good deeds, follow the prophet of your time.
And that makes sense.
Right.
And this is the reason. Guys, I want to say this. If I could have stayed Christian, I would have been comfortable.
Right.
You know, I would have stayed
Cultural,
Christian.
family would have taken it.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, I like the aesthetics of it, you know,
Right.
for what it's worth.
Right.
I enjoyed it in the church. It was,
The singing, you know.
yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
And moreover, again, choosing Islam, or as I said, being chosen by God to follow Islam, is something that brings more burden at first here, because I have to go against my whole family.
Yeah.
Right? It's not
Society.
something, society as well. It's not something that I'm doing lightly, you know, and because it is the easy way out,
No.
because it's something that I just like to do. No, it's something that
The truth is never the easy way out.
exactly, and I have no choice other than accepting it.
Mm.
Because I said from the get-go, no matter what kind of truth I will find, it has to be the truth with a capital T. And if I find it, I will accept it.
That's
And
beautiful.
therefore, I have to stay true to myself as well.
You
Right?
gotta stay true
And
to
once I
your word.
found it within Islam, when I opened up the Quran, as I said, I couldn't believe it myself that it is in this book.
Mm.
For me, it was shocking that this book was about pure monotheism.
Subhanallah.
I couldn't believe it.
That's beautiful.
And when I found that right then and right there, this is already 2 years ago,
Mm.
I said I cannot resist this message.
Mm.
Now I'm going to do my research, which I did lengthy enough now, 2 years. has
Seen a
been.
lot of your videos, impressive.
Yeah. I came to the conclusion that I cannot deny truth when it faces me.
Allahu Akbar. That's beautiful. You know, we're gonna end with this, but a lot of people are in your position where they know Islam is the truth.
Mm.
But they, whatever it's lifestyle, whether it's culture, they're afraid to make that jump, you know, or that leap, because obviously it comes with difficulties. It
Sure.
comes with a life change. But if you know it to be the truth, you have to accept it.
100%.
All right.
Those people that are facing those difficulties, ultimately the question is not what people think about you. And I know that's corny, you heard it before. It doesn't matter what people think.
Yeah.
But the reality is that we're talking about an issue of eternity here. So if you believe in religion at all, even in your own religion, then you will believe in an eternal afterlife, you will believe in an eternal creator.
Mm.
And if that is correct, then you cannot go by temporal historical standards, because, as the Sheikh here said correctly, they change all the time.
Right.
So who cares what those people think right now if you are compromising your afterlife.
Yeah.
It's worth absolutely nothing.
So true.
So you have to focus on eternity.
So life is short. Myself growing up, as you know, I mean, I grew up with Christians and Catholics and atheists, and one thing I realized that I had always this feeling, and I think everybody else does as well, of being more than this life. Human always thinks about the afterlife, where I came from, what's the purpose, because Allah instilled that in us, and then He gave us all those signs, ways to know the truth. Now the test gets to be is, are you willing to stand up for what you know to be the truth and save your eternal life? Or are you so caught up in whatever it may be, whether it's drinking or partying or social pressures or what would people think, or how can I leave my, whatever, girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever, that you would not be willing to accept something that you know to be the truth.
Exactly.
So we ask Allah to guide us and guide everybody else. And you believe there's none worthy of worship except Allah?
I do.
And you believe the Prophet Muhammad is prophet,
I do.
the last of the prophets?
Absolutely.
Let's go to the masjid, do your shahada.
Let's do it, inshallah.
Allahu Akbar.
Bobby. This is it.
This is it.
Allahu
It's getting real.
Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Before we do the Shahada, I just want to say, every time, including right now, that I've ever done a Shahada with anybody, I've got goosebumps. It's not about how many you do. It's about each individual, because life has a purpose. And the purpose of life is to first and foremost recognize your Creator and then to worship Him. The day you do your Shahada is the day you come back to your purpose. It's more important than the day you were born. It's more important than the day you get married. It's more important than the day if somebody becomes a billionaire, that money will end in this world. But the guidance that you accept in the Shahada and the life you live from it will benefit you not just in this world, but in the grave and the hereafter. So we're ready for this?
More than ready. That's been a long time coming.
Allahu Akbar. All right. Arabic first or English first?
Let's do the Arabic first.
I like it. Brave.
I'll try.
Ashhadu
Ashhadu
an
an
la
la
ilaha
ilaha
illallah.
illallah
Wa ashhadu
wa ashhadu
anna
anna
Muhammada
Muhammadan
abduhu
abduhu
wa rasuluh.
wa rasuluh.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. You're a Muslim. As witnesses in front of you, and Allah is your witness, the Malaika. I bear witness.
I bear witness.
There is none worthy of worship.
There is none worthy of worship
Except Allah.
except Allah.
And I bear witness
And I bear witness
that Muhammad
that Muhammad
is His servant
is His servant
and His messenger.
and His messenger.
Allahu Akbar.
آمنت أن الآخرة لا بد يوما آتية كل الخلائق حاضرة كل السرائر بادية آمنت أن الآخرة لا بد يوما آتية كل الخلائق حاضرة كل السرائر بادية